Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, Senior Pastor of New Life Christian Center, located at 400 Hillcrest Avenue, Wilmington, Delaware, 19809, where we will soon, on Sunday, March 30th, 2025, be celebrating our church's 20th anniversary. So if you're ever in our area, we want you to come and worship with us. And certainly if you're in our area, we invite you to come for the anniversary celebration on the 20th anniversary celebration on March the 30th, 2025 at 10 a.m. Service will begin. And if you're not in our area, you can tune in on our YouTube channel at New Life Christian Center - Pastor Pope for the Sunday sermon at 10:45 a.m. when we go live. And as always, we are here with you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio, where you can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children. You can discuss dating and relationships, whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind. God is concerned about that which concerns you. And that is the reason that we are here with you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, which is brought to you by our sponsor, Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer, where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water, this is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. And for those of you who continue supporting the broadcast by giving on the links that are provided on Facebook and YouTube, and those of you that are using the QR code and now using Zelle on the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424. We thank all of you for your support and for your commitment as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here for you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. So I want to address I want to address something that's very important, because so many of you have been sending in communications over time now about the fact that we're not on the air every day. You wish we were on the air every day now. However, as you know, things evolve, and because we have established our own public charity, our New Life Food Source Pantry, we're not on the air every day. The days that we're on, you'll receive notification, obviously, on Facebook, and you can always tune in to view previous archives that will give you some help in dealing with life's issues. So our broadcasts are archived, and you have the opportunity to go back and view them, and we will be with you as often as we possibly can. But one of the things that we are delighted about is that we can serve God in a much greater way also now, by making certain that people who are dealing with food insecurities have food. So if you know someone that is dealing with food insecurities, have them contact us on the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424. We will make certain they receive instructions on how they can obtain food from our New Life Food Source Pantry Incorporated. And so I wanted to begin with that, because so many of you, and we're really thankful that you're all tuning in as often as we are on the air. But we are here with you, no question about it. We are here with you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, where you can discuss all of the issues of life and hear what God has to say, because everything that I will ever speak to you is what God has spoken or has written in His Word, because the Bible tells us that all things work together for the good for those who love the Lord and are called according to His purpose. So we want to make certain that you walk in your purpose. We want to make certain that you have all the information that you could possibly need to enhance the quality of our lives. And so I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you are an only child and you say you want a man who is going to treat you the way you've always been treated growing up. You said, so consequently, you do not want to have children to ensure that you get all of the attention. Well, here's the issue. The issue is you've been treated a certain way growing up, and that's a good thing. You're an only child. Your parents have given you all the attention that you could possibly need. But now it's time to grow up. And what I mean by that is it's time for you to recognize that you're, as an adult now, some man is going to want to take you as his wife. And the right man will treat you the way your father has always treated you. But you also have to realize that God willing, a man that has chosen you to be his wife, in most instances is going to want to create a legacy for God, which means he's going to want to have children. If God is merciful, gracious and merciful, and opens your womb, that's what he's going to desire. Now you have your own choices to make. However, you have to realize that most men are going to want to create a legacy. And so, it's not to say he won't give you attention. However, at this point in your life, you got to realize that you're not going to get all of the attention. Because even if you meet a man who doesn't want children, he's not going to give you all of the attention. He's going to treat you as a wife, but if he doesn't want children and you don't want children, that means you both have other interests. You both have other things you want to do other than birthing, developing, and nurturing children. So be careful what you ask for. And as we grow in this walk in life, you have to recognize that you're not, as an adult, going to get all of the attention. Your parents were able to do that for you because you were their only child. But now that you're an adult, if you notice what you're searching for is something to fill the void that your parents are no longer giving you, because now that you're an adult, your parents have their own life, their own lives to live. And they expect you to live your own life. They're there for you until a man claims you to be his wife, finds you to be his wife, and wants to build a legacy with you. Here's what I will say to all of your generation. If you think for one moment that you will go through life for the remainder of your life getting all of the attention, it's not going to happen. Because even if a man chooses you to be his wife and not just his dating partner, he's going to have other interests if he's not raising children. If he's not developing and nurturing children, he's going to have other interests, which means that he's not going to give you all of the attention anyway. So you have to decide what's really important to you. Is having someone give you a portion of their attention more important to you than getting married and having children? It's a slippery slope. And the reason that I say that is because you want to accomplish one thing, but it's it's going to cause you to slide down on the list of priorities. Your parents could do that because they're your parents. They could give you all the attention. And now you're feeling, and this is where it stems from, you're feeling that you're not getting the attention you need because your parents are now focused on living their lives. They've educated you, they've gotten you educated, they've raised you to be a citizen of society. You're capable and competent of dealing with everyday life. And now they've moved on. And when I say moved on, meaning they're focused on living their lives. And now suddenly you're feeling there's an empty void in your life of getting the attention that you want. And so you're saying, well, I don't want children because I can get attention from a husband. If I just get married, I can have one person giving me all the attention. That's never going to happen. I'm just going to help you to understand that once you become an adult, you're never going to get the same attention that you had as a child. Because now you're interacting with other people. Other people have their own lives and they have made decisions on what they want out of life. And so now you're finally seeing that life is not the way it was for you as a child, because your parents were loving you and loving on you as one single individual. And now you've got to share yourself with the world, and you've got to share the world with others. You've got to share the space in which you live with others. And you say consequently you don't want children. Well, that may be the case for some people, but can I just say to us all that that was God's plan for us all. If God is gracious to open up the womb of a woman, it is the birth canal for a child. And so we all have to fulfill that calling on life. And if that's not God's will for your life, that's fine, because he has other plans for you, but don't let that be your own free will. Line your free will up with the will of God. Whatever his will is, let his will be done. Whatever his will is in you, let his will be done. Don't try to control the narrative. Don't try to control what God is doing in your life, because what God has planned for your life is greater than what you have planned for yourself. The problem is sometimes we don't recognize that. So I'm going to encourage you to take a different approach. Open yourself up to what God wants for your life, and you'll find you have everything that you need to be fulfilled. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you're not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you into our queue so that you have the opportunity to become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill. The T-Mobile, America's largest and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers. However, before I do that, let me say this. This segment of the broadcast is going to be brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, stop in at their retail stores. They have everything that a man could possibly need. And if you're not in any of those areas, you can order from Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. And The White Company, located in London, the UK, they also have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York. So if you're in New York, stop in at their retail store. They have everything you could possibly need: home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. And if you're not in New York, you can order from The White Company also at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. So I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated you and your husband built a business believing that your children would someday take over the business and build it even to a greater legacy. Okay, so we're really focused on legacy today, and you said, however, your children have no interest in the business. Let me say this. I find that to be very interesting because I have had the privilege of knowing families that are now, one of them, 4th generation company, another company, 6th generation company, another company recently became a 7th generation company. Often cultures vary, and one of the things that we suffer with today is that many people of the next generation aren't interested in the businesses that we build. They're more interested in identifying what they choose to do and then trying to accomplish something on their own. And the reason is because they want to be able to say they accomplished it on their own. Part of the reason of that is because we live in a very selfish, not selfless society. And so, we're in a selfie generation. And everyone wants to be able to post, this is what they've done. The reality is that it should not be a negative to say, this is what I'm carrying on, or this is what I'm doing today. That's fine if that's the generation we're living in. But the reality is that often children don't want to be a part of, and when you say children, they're adults. You've got 4 of them, and not one of them want to follow or take over the business. And that's a problem in the generation behind us, because the reality is, and I say this because I've known families that have accomplished this long term, that have been able to build great wealth, not just significant wealth, but great wealth, because they were able to continue from generation to generation. Having said that, now that you realize your children have no interest in the legacy, it's important that you start considering from a philanthropic perspective what your business is going to accomplish, what you're going to accomplish through your business from a philanthropic perspective. And the reason that I say that is because if they have no interest in the business, they have no interest in the wealth. They have no equity in the wealth. Just inheriting wealth because you're part of the family doesn't qualify you. If you look, we all want our children to be successful. We want to make certain that they not only have a good start, but that they have, the opportunity to inherit certain things that are going to benefit their lives. That's great. But beyond that, if they have no equity in building the wealth, they're not entitled to it. Which means that you then have to decide how you're going to move that forward. What's that look like? Is there someone else responsible enough who could continue the business, but then maybe transfer ownership to your children so that they can have some say in what moves forward? Adding them to the board of directors, whatever that may look like. But you've got to make those decisions while you're living. And then on top of that, You have to decide how you want to distribute your wealth after you're gone. What does that look like from a philanthropic perspective? The causes that are important to you. How do you move those forward after you're gone? Now, fortunately enough, you and your husband, whichever one of you goes home to be with the Lord, the remaining spouse is going to be responsible for continuing the philanthropic endeavors that you pursue. And then hopefully, perhaps your children may have an interest in the philanthropic aspect. But you've got to make those decisions now while you're here. Because they're not going to make those decisions after you're gone. What's important to you to have an impact on society, they're not going to carry those things on if they're not taking interest in them now, which means whatever you leave behind for them to take possession of, it's going to be equally distributed, and they're going to go on with their lives. And the one thing that we should be focused on, all of us, is building a legacy for God that will live on. The service of what we do while we're here will live on when we're gone. That's really the place where we should all be focused on residing. End result. We're going to build something for God. We're going to create service for God that we can pass from generation to generation. Even if it's not your own children, but that some other children will take an interest in the legacy of God that's been created, and they'll move that forward. We all would hope that it's our own children, but that's not always the case, and particularly because of the culture we're living in today, that people just don't want to continue on what has been started. They're not focused on that. They're focused on what makes them feel good for the moment. They're focused on what they want to do with their own lives, and being creative and being able to say they created it themselves. That's what society focuses on today. That's what society is teaching. And as I'm going to expound on that a little further. As I mentioned, I have had the privilege of witnessing on several occasions, I'll just say that, families that are now 4th generation, 6th generation, recently a 7th generation. So you look at that and you say it can be done, and it can be done effectively and efficiently to the point where the generations to come will be able to be philanthropic also. But the Bible says you've got to train up a child in the way they should go, and when they grow old, they won't depart from it. So that's what we can hope for. But it's not always the case. So you and your husband are going to have to prepare for what you've built to become the philanthropy that you want to focus on even long after you're gone. And you can accomplish that. Get together with your financial advisors, get together with attorneys, talk to your children, share with them the plan you had and what you're going to be doing moving forward. You don't necessarily have to share with them, but you can show them. And if they have any interest, they'll get in line. And if they don't, they'll pass. And you got to be okay with that. Don't spend the remainder of your wonderful days stressing out about what children will or will not do, because they're grown adults who are going to make their own decisions. And because they're going to make their own decisions, you cannot allow their decisions to impact what you're going to accomplish for the Lord moving forward. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers. However, before I do that, let me remind everyone once again. First thing is, we want to stay connected with you throughout the week. So we have our internet radio station, WKAPfaith.com, where we play music 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So you have no reason not to be encouraged, empowered, and inspired, because that's what the music we play does. So we want you to stay connected with us. Tune in at WKAPfaith.com and hear the music that will do just that. It will encourage you, empower you, and inspire you. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And I want to say to everyone, so this is important. As you know, we have our New Life Food Source Pantry. We don't want anyone going hungry. If you know someone that is dealing with food insecurities, have them contact us on the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424. We'll give them directions and instructions on how they will be able to receive food from our New Life Food Source Pantry. Last but not least, we are about to celebrate our 20th church anniversary at New Life Christian Center. We thank all of you for being a part of this journey, but we want to invite you, if you're in our area, to come and worship with us for the anniversary, the 20th church anniversary at New Life Christian Center, which will be on Sunday, March 30th, 2025 at 10 a.m. service begins. We want you to come and begin to renew a better quality of life. I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated you have a new career opportunity and you want to be successful. However, you are feeling anxious about becoming successful at this point in your life. Be anxious for nothing, the Bible says. Don't allow anxiety or fear of failure to become part of this equation. So here's the reality. To God be the glory. You got a new opportunity. And you want to be successful. So I'm going to encourage you to do this. Don't do what you've always done in your previous career. Don't go in with the same mindset. Don't begin this process thinking the way you've always thought. Go in with the mindset of, I'm going to be successful in this career opportunity because I'm more equipped now. You know, your competency is not your issue. You're capable and competent to perform the task at hand. What you have to do now is make some behavioral changes, some attitude changes, some behavioral changes, and you have to realize that you're equipped to do what needs to be done to not only further your career, but the person who's in the job ahead of you, that you report to. You have the opportunity to help them become successful so that you can be successful. That's something most people miss. The person you report to, if your focus is on helping them to be successful, you're going to be successful. Because you won't just work for the job you have, you'll work for the job that is at the next level above you. And what happens often is that when the person who you report to gets promoted, they'll then want to promote you because you've made their career shine. You've made it much easier for them to be successful. You weren't the person dragging them down. You were the person propping them up. If you can do that, you're going to be successful. So don't be afraid that at this point in your life, you're not going to become successful. You will be successful. And that's the mindset you have to take. You have to go in with the mindset that you are going to be successful. And then do these things that I've shared. One of the things I often